I really need to tell you about a spreadsheet. And I want you, listening right now, to just picture the most intense, meticulously structured, highly detailed document you have ever seen in your entire life.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I mean, we are talking 14 separate tabs here. We are talking conditional formatting, where cells automatically change to like a specific shade of panic red if a single number shifts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is an absolute masterpiece of data entry.
Okay, well, consider my interest fully piqued. What is this monumental document even for? I mean, are we talking about a massive corporate merger, the launch sequence for a satellite?
A trip, just a single vacation.
Wait, how long is this vacation? Is it like 6 months backpacking across multiple hostile environments?
No, a standard trip to Paris. And here is the absolute best part. The cherry on top of this whole bureaucratic sundae, she hasn't even booked it yet.
Wait, she built a 14-tab infrastructure for a hypothetical?
8 months, 8 full months of rigorous daily planning, researching, and tweaking. Zero bookings. No flights, no hotels, literally nothing.
I don't even need you to tell me who this is. This has the absolute fingerprints of our friend Lily all over it.
It is absolutely Lily. And welcome to Just Johnny and Sophie. We're so glad you're here.
We really are.
We promise you real conversations, real everyday English, and a chance to sort of explore the fascinating quirks of human nature. So today, our mission is to unpack the sheer psychology behind Lily's legendary 8 months in the making Paris spreadsheet.
Which is just wild.
It is. We are going to analyze the wildly different ways our friend group reacted to it, and ultimately, we're going to discover what this extreme level of preparation actually means. Because, this isn't just about travel.
Right.
It's about you listening right now and how you approach learning something new, like, say, the English language.
Well, I'm fully on board for this mission, but I'm still kind of stuck on the premise. 14 tabs and 0 bookings.
Right.
The sheer scale of that is just staggering.
Yeah.
You could literally grow a human being in the time she has spent not booking a flight to France. It's fascinating, though, because it highlights a concept that psychologists actually call productive procrastination.
Productive procrastination. Wait, what is that?
Right. So it's when your brain basically tricks you into feeling like you are making real progress. You're doing research, you're organizing data, your brain is getting these little hits of dopamine because you feel so productive.
Oh, I see.
But you are actually completely avoiding the single scary task that requires real commitment, which, in this case is putting down a credit card and buying a non-refundable ticket.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It's like the illusion of forward momentum. Well, let me walk you through the anatomy of this illusion because I actually got a peek at the document.
Oh, do tell.
Let's look at the first block, tabs 1 through 6. Instead of just a table of contents, I want you to think of this section as Lily trying to quantify the unquantifiable. So, tab 1 isn't just a list of flights. It is 6 highly specific flight options, heavily sorted by a matrix of price, total duration, and the exact minute count of the layovers.
Rigorous. Borderline obsessive, honestly, but I can see the logic. Nobody likes a bad layover.
Sure, but then we hit tab 2, hotels.
Hmm.
These aren't just rated by location and, aggregated customer reviews. She has categorized their exact proximity to public transportation in meters.
Meters, not like a 5-minute walk, meter.
Meters,
Yep.
yep. And then tab 3 is where we fully cross the Rubicon into absolute madness, the daily itinerary. It is planned out hour by hour from waking up to going to sleep. But she has built in, and I quote, buffer time between every single activity.
Buffer time, like a scheduled emotional palate cleanser between staring at the Eiffel Tower and eating a pastry.
Yeah. Exactly. Tab 4 is the budget, brutally broken down into subcategories with a dedicated emergency fund. Tab 5 cross-references restaurants by Parisian neighborhood, price point, and food type.
Wow.
And tab 6 is the master list of things to do, strictly color-coded by priority, must do, should do, and would be nice.
Okay, we need to pause here because I have to push back on this entire philosophy of existing in the world. Look at tab 3, the hour-by-hour itinerary with dedicated buffer times. Planning a trip like this strips the actual joy out of a vacation.
You think?
Yes. This isn't leisure. This is a complex military operation. I mean, this is the level of chronological precision required to land a Mars rover. You have your descent stage, your parachute deployment, your buffer time for atmospheric drag. When you are factoring in buffer times just to drink an espresso in a cafe, at what point does organizing a trip just become an unpaid full-time job?
I hear you. I do. But let me play devil's advocate for just a second. If I don't do at least some of what's in tabs 1 through 6, I am the idiot dragging a broken suitcase across cobblestones at midnight because I didn't realize there was a train strike. Doesn't there have to be like a baseline of safety?
Well, sure.
There's a difference between a military operation and just not wanting to sleep in a train station.
Absolutely, there is a baseline. Preparation is necessary, obviously, but the distinction is whether the plan serves the trip or the trip serves the plan. With a schedule this tight, the moment a waiter takes 10 extra minutes to bring the check, Lily's entire mental framework just collapses.
That is true.
She's no longer experiencing Paris, she's managing a project simulation.
And wait until you hear how she managed the collapse of that framework. Because right after the beautifully organized tab 6, we hit tab 7.
Okay, what's tab 7?
Nobody knows.
What do you mean nobody knows? You saw the spreadsheet. Just look at the title of the tab.
The title is blank. It is just an empty white space on the tab bar. It is the absolute elephant in the spreadsheet, a total enigma. And nobody in our friend group asks twice.
Really?
Yeah, I asked twice, and Lily physically tensed up, looked out the window, and completely changed the subject to the weather.
Okay, now I'm deeply invested. The human brain despises a void. There's a secret, unspoken variable in the Paris equation that she is hiding. Read me the rest of the tabs. Let's see if we can reverse engineer the escalating madness of tabs 8 through 14 to figure out what tab 7 is.
Oh, prepare yourself because we are entering the doomsday prep section.
Yeah.
Tab 8 is the packing list, meticulously organized by fabric type and weather category.
Naturally.
Tab 9 is weather research, and I don't mean looking at a 10-day forecast. I mean she downloaded historical monthly weather averages for Paris, spanning the last decade.
Because you can't trust the meteorologists. You need to analyze the decadal climate trends to decide if you need a light sweater.
Obviously. Tab 10 is city transit. Every metro line, bus route, and taxi app downloaded, mapped, and cross-referenced. Tab 11 is emergency contacts, hospital locations, and embassy protocols. And then Tab 12, backup plans.
Backup plans for what?
For what to do if literally anything in tabs 1 through 11 fails. If the hotel loses her reservation, if the metro floods, if the restaurant burns down, she has an alternate plan.
So she hasn't just planned one trip. She has designed an entire shadow itinerary, a dark, alternative timeline Paris trip just waiting in the wings. I mean, the psychological weight of carrying 2 parallel vacations in your mind is exhausting.
Oh, it gets worse. Tab 13 is notes from 7 different people she formally interviewed who have previously been to Paris.
Wait, she conducted qualitative research? She interrogated our friends?
She cross-examined them. She treated a vacation like a master's thesis defense. And finally, tab 14 is a pre-trip checklist of everything that needs to be done before the trip even starts. And the punchline, the grand finale of this administrative marathon, is that the trip still does not technically exist.
0 bookings.
0 bookings. After 8 months and 14 tabs, she hasn't bought a ticket because she claims she, quote, needs a little more information.
You know, there is a great English expression that perfectly captures what Lily is attempting and completely failing to do here. It's the phrase to account for.
Oh, yeah.
She is trying to account for everything. Literally, it means to include every possible variable or consequence in your plan. But you cannot account for reality. You can't account for a sudden rainstorm that deviates from the 10-year historical average. You can't account for the cafe being closed because the owner just felt like sleeping in. That friction, the unexpected reality, is the entire beauty of Paris.
It's the beauty of living. When you try to account for every single unknown, you systematically erase the actual experience. You're left with nothing but data. But yet watching our friend group react to this 14-tab masterpiece was honestly just as fascinating as the spreadsheet itself. It gave us a literal masterclass in psychological archetypes.
Oh, I can only imagine. Confronting people with that level of bureaucratic control usually forces their true nature to the surface. How did Marcus react to this level of paralysis?
Marcus's high-risk tolerance was on full display. He is the ultimate chaos agent. He looked at the glowing screen, looked at Lily, shook his head, and immediately just said, "Just go, Lily."
Of course he did. Marcus is the anti-Lily. He views planning as a suggestion at best.
Exactly. Do you remember when Marcus booked a trip the literal same day he thought of it?
Vividly. He woke up on a random Tuesday, decided his soul needed to see the ocean, bought a ticket on his phone while brushing his teeth, and was at the airport gate by noon. No tabs. 0 tabs.
And it turned out mostly fine. I mean, sure, he forgot his toothbrush, and he accidentally booked a bed in a hostel that was directly above a thumping techno nightclub in Berlin.
Right.
He didn't sleep for 3 days, but he survived, and he came back with incredible stories.
Because his baseline state is chaos, he thrives in the unaccounted for spaces. What about Maya?
Maya, with all her maximum dramatic energy and impulse, took one look at the spreadsheet, scoffed, and declared I would have been on the plane by tab 3.
She's not exaggerating. Maya operates purely on adrenaline and trusting her future self to figure things out. I mean, I've seen her pack.
I can completely vouch for Maya's speed. I once watched her pack for a 4-day weekend trip in exactly 20 minutes. It was like a tornado hit her closet. She was shoving shoes into a duffel bag while simultaneously calling an Uber and eating a piece of toast.
Unbelievable.
But she made the flight, and somehow she looked impossibly fabulous the entire weekend. Maximum emotions, zero buffer time.
So we have the chaos agent and the impulsive speedster. What about Dan? The notoriously quiet, always calm, minimalist Dan. What did he say when presented with this mountain of color-coded anxiety?
This was the best part. Dan didn't say a whole sentence. He just stared at the screen for a long time, slowly pointed the finger directly at the blank space, and quietly said, tab 7.
Yes, Dan cuts right through the noise. Dan understands that the entire spreadsheet, all 13 other tabs, are just a massive distraction from whatever is hiding in tab 7.
He didn't care about the 10-year historical weather averages or the meter count to the metro. He saw the void and knew that was the real story.
So, to you, listening to us right now, this raises a really fun, revealing question about your own risk tolerance. When you are facing a massive goal or stepping into an unknown situation, which archetype do you default to?
Yeah.
Are you a 14-tab Lily trying to account for every grain of sand so you never feel out of control? Are you an impulsive 20-minute Maya throwing things in a bag and running toward the gate on sheer adrenaline? Or are you chaotic Marcus, jumping off the cliff first and figuring out how to build a parachute on the way down?
Or maybe you're Dan, just quietly observing the madness, looking for the hidden truth in the blank spaces. But, bringing it back to you, the listener, there is a profound lesson hidden in this ridiculous spreadsheet. And it goes way beyond planning a vacation to France.
I feel a pivot coming. Where are we taking this?
I was looking at Lily's spreadsheet and Dan's reaction to tab 7, and it just hit me. Tab 7 is the fear of the unknown. And you know where else I see people building massive 14-tab mental spreadsheets to avoid the unknown? Language learning.
Oh, wow.
This entire story is exactly what it looks like to learn a new language, like English.
That is a phenomenal connection. Let's really dig into that.
Think about your own habits for a second. When you are learning English, it is incredibly easy to become a 14-tab Lily. You want to feel 100% prepared before you ever open your mouth to speak to a native speaker.
Exactly.
You want the perfect vocabulary list. You want the ultimate grammatical backup plans, your own mental tab 12, just in case you forget how to conjugate a past tense verb in the middle of a sentence. You want to listen to 7 different podcasts before you feel ready to order a coffee in real life.
People are literally building a massive, beautiful, color-coded mental spreadsheet of English rules to protect themselves from the vulnerability of making a mistake.
Yes. But here is the hard truth we all have to face. The beautiful mental spreadsheet is just a plan. Speaking the language, actually connecting with another human being in real time, that is Paris.
Right.
The spreadsheet is not Paris. At some point, you cannot just keep researching historical grammar averages. Sometimes you just have to get on the plane before you feel completely ready.
If we use this framework to highlight our featured language expressions for today, it perfectly encapsulates the journey. Let's look closely at the vocabulary we've been circling around.
I love that. Let's start with our first expression from the story, to be prepared.
On the surface, to be prepared simply means to be ready for something in advance. To have your tools gathered, Lily desperately wants to be prepared. But as we discussed, there is a massive difference between being prepared and being paralyzed by the illusion of control. Preparation equips you, paralysis stops you.
Which flows directly into our second expression, the one we unpacked earlier, to account for.
Right. To account for something means to include it in your overarching plan, or to consider it when making a decision. Lily tried to account for the weather, the transport strikes, the emergencies. In language learning, trying to account for every possible sentence someone might say to you is an exercise in futility. You cannot script a dynamic, real-world conversation. Humans are unpredictable.
And trying to script the unscriptable brings us right to the ultimate trap. Our final expression, better safe than sorry.
The classic idiom. Better safe than sorry. It implies that it is infinitely better to be overly cautious right now than to make a mistake and experience regret later. It is the core philosophy, the absolute beating heart of a 14-tab spreadsheet.
But I know you have some strong feelings about this phrase. If I tell you I'm not going to speak English today because it's better safe than sorry, what's your response?
I will aggressively challenge that concept, especially when it comes to travel, communication, and language learning. Look, better safe than sorry sounds like incredible advice if you are, say, rewiring the electricity in your kitchen or packing a parachute. Yes, please be safe. Please don't be sorry. But in human connection, in experiencing the world, being too safe is actually the most dangerous risk you can take.
Because if you play it entirely safe, your world shrinks to the size of a spreadsheet. You just stay home.
Precisely. If you are so terrified of making a grammar mistake or using the wrong vocabulary word that you choose to stay silent, congratulations, you are entirely safe. You won't make an error. Nobody will laugh at a mispronunciation. But you are also never going to actually speak the language. You never take the trip. You never eat the Parisian croissant. You never stumble your way through a messy, imperfect, hilarious conversation with a stranger that ends in a real connection. By choosing to be perfectly safe, you guarantee that you will be sorry.
When you put it that way, safety almost sounds like a prison. You have to embrace a little bit of Marcus's chaos. You have to be willing to just say the words out loud, even if the grammar is entirely broken, and trust that the other person will work with you and it will be fine, mostly.
The messy, unscripted reality is always, always better than the perfect, unexecuted plan waiting on a hard drive.
So as we wrap up this exploration into Lily's glorious and slightly terrifying organizational masterpiece, we want to give you a quick heads up about what is coming next. This Friday, we are releasing our next show, and it is going to be something incredibly special.
We are taking a deep, fascinating look at the actual science behind why we forget languages we've learned. Have you ever spent years studying a subject, cramming vocabulary into your brain, only to feel like it completely evaporated the moment you stopped practicing every day?
It is such a frustrating feeling. We're going to break down the actual neurology of that memory decay, and we are going to use our own friend group once again as the perfect examples of how language retention thrives and how it completely fails. Honestly, the research we've pulled for this is mind-blowing. It is shaping up to be the most interesting conversation we've had yet, so make sure you are here with us this Friday.
And before we let you go today, we have a challenge for you. We want you to take the English you heard today off the mental spreadsheet and put it out into the real world. Your challenge is to try and use the phrase better safe than sorry in a real conversation this week. Maybe you grab an umbrella when there's only a 10% chance of rain, or maybe you double check a locked door. Just find a mundane moment, use the phrase out loud, and get yourself on the plane.
We absolutely love